Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of my podcast, Is Breakfast Included? How you guys doing? Now, for the last couple of weeks, I've spent some time, as one would say, across the pond. And while I was there, I reached out to a couple of folks who I thought might be cool to sit down and talk to. So that's what I did, and it happened. Today on the show, I sit down with Ian Rendall. Ian Rendall is the founder of the Guitar Wrist. That's guitar and then wrist, spelled like W-R-I-S-T. What is or who are the Guitar Wrist? Well, what they do is they are a non-for-profit organization who repurposes old guitar strings and make this amazing jewelry. And he was kind enough to give me some time and talk to about how it started, what they do, how they go through the process of getting the strings ready, who they work with, and so forth. Now, we had originally planned on doing this interview in person since I was there in London, but of course the universe intervened and we had to do it by phone. It was a great conversation. Ian told me all about the company, how he got started, who they're working with, who they want to work with, and of course, what he likes for breakfast. Okay, let's check it out. Tell everyone who you are.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Well, I'm Ian Rendall. I am the founder of a not-for-profit company called The Guitarist. We are a sustainability and charity fundraising initiative where we get artists to basically donate their played strings when they come to restring rather than binning them and ending in landfill. And then we upcycle them into handmade items of jewelry, and the artist picks a charity, and the profits go to that charity. And that's us in a nutshell.
Okay. How did you go about starting the Guitar Wrist? Were you a musician first?
No, I'd managed bands, and back in the early 2000s, I'd had a number of bands that I was managing, and that they were young bands, and so we were sort of quite frugal as to what we were spending money on, and we were just working out what do we spend a lot of money on, and it's sort of like the perishables, like guitar strings, drumsticks, cymbals, etc., this kind of thing. And it was just during that period that we were just asking, what do you do with the strings? And they just said, oh, we just bin them, and and then about a few years later, I set up an endorsement company, and we were working very closely with a number of big brands like Orange Amps and Rosehound Strings. And when we met the Rosehound Strings guys, we just said, well, why don't people recycle them? And they just told us that most of the strings are made of two metals, and then a core steel, and then an outer nickel. And it's just too expensive and too fiddly to unwind them all and then recycle the metals. So people just bin them, and they all end in landfill. So that was the original sort of concept, was purely a sustainability program that we were putting in place to try and stop strings metal ending up in landfill. And then we just mentioned it to a few artists that we were working with. I think Twin Atlantic, were a Scottish band, were one of the first bands we mentioned it to, and they said, "Oh, we love this. We'll be on board." And then a few other bands just said, "Well, why don't we make it something to do with charity?" So we basically said we'd love that idea, and then we just said that each artist just picks a charity, and then all the profits go to that charity.
And what was that was the first band that jumped on board?
Yeah, it was Twin Atlantic. They're a Scottish band. They were signed to Red Bull Records. They're one of the first bands that Red Bull signed back in 2003, 4, I think, I remember. They were. I was doing some endorsement deals for them, and I've known the guys for probably 15 years, longer now. And they just said, "Yeah, we'd love to be a part of it." And then we chatted to more bands we were working with, and more of them came on board. And then we had we worked with a load of other charities as well. And there's a big charity called the Teenage Cancer Trust in the UK. There's very much a big music part of them, and that one of their patrons is Roger Daltrey from The Who.
Yeah.
And so
I've heard of them.
We started chatting. Yes, and we haven't got Roger strings or Pete Townsend strings, but I'm working on that. And then they just introduced us to some of their clients. So Paul Well is a big helper of the charity, and so he came on board, and so were the Stereophonics. So we got the Stereophonics on board, and so it gave us a sort of a little leg up having those kind of caliber of artists. And then it just sort of seemed to snowball. We launched in 2017 with a little pop-up store in Carnaby Street, which was great. And Katie Tunstall actually opened the shop for us,
wow.
And we got a lot of publicity. Out of that, and then it was it just sort of snowballed after that, and they just got bigger and bigger.
So, how do you keep track of all the strings that come in, like from different artists?
Yeah.
And do you reach out to the text? Do you reach out to the artist, management? Who do you reach out to?
In order to get the approval, etc. Generally, the management have to approve it at some point and authorize it, because often we like the artist to promote what we're doing. So ultimately, the management will have to talk to them at some point. But because I've got this other endorsement company, I've got another live recordings business as well. We've got a lot of contacts with guitarists, and so we sort of tap them up to begin with. But ultimately, even if you chat, you're very good friends with the guitarist, etc., you'll have to go through the management at some point, because you don't want to bother the guitarist with all the nitty details, etc.
Yeah.
But then ultimately, the guitar techs are the people we love, because they ultimately the people who are going to be changing the strings and bagging them and telling us where they're from, and that's some of the key. Some artists are incredible or their guitar techs are, and they take huge pride in exactly what instrument a set of strings came from for a particular show, and then some artists, we just get a big bag of mangled strings at the end of a tour. So each artist is a bit different. Sometimes, say we get a band called Marillion, who they literally have a sheet of paper that comes with every set of strings, telling me which guitar song, and it's quite super detailed. But but generally we'll get a bag saying, oh, these from these shows, etc., and they'll be written on the original packaging, etc. Because the fans love that kind of thing, especially if they've been to that show. That it just gives the item a bit more kudos.
So you appreciate the more details you can get about a set of strings, rather than getting a bag of, as you say, mangled strings. You appreciate the detail.
I mean, because it's. I mean, we really did underestimate the level of admin that we have to go through, because it is such a specialized niche thing we do, and the provenance is so important that we spend a lot of time making sure that we get things right, and because every string is catalogued, and we use a thing called Smart Water, which is a liquid that has been invented, but in the forensic people at the police use to track items. And so basically we will coat the strings with this bit of Smart Water that says that string is from that person. So as soon as we get a set of strings from someone, they're cleaned in an ultrasonic bath, and then get all the grime, if there are grime stains or so, and then literally we'll coat them with this Smart Water, so we can then tag them, so they're tagged and bagged, and then put in a locked area under that band's name. And so we've got this big storeroom where everything is logged and catalogued, so we know exactly where we are with how many strings of each different type of string for each artist we have. Yeah. And it's just getting bigger and bigger, the storeroom.
And are you part of the jewelry team, or do you have a team that makes the jewelry?
No, I originally came up with some designs in the early days, and then we found a jewelry company. It was through one of the bands I was managing. The PR lady in the record label her sister happened to be Emma happened to be a jeweler, and so we said, "Oh, I've got a few rough designs. Can you make these look better than mine?" And so she went off, spent about 4 months looking at new designs, and came back with a set of, I think, about 5 different designs, and they were really cool. So we went with her. So we set up an arrangement with her. But now we've got another guy that does our rings. He's based in Shropshire, and he actually makes jewelry from symbols. So we started doing symbol stuff now as well. But we've got another company in the USA now who's going to be doing our jewelry in America for us. So we're definitely expanding the number of people we're working with, just purely because the demand is there now.
Yeah. Is there any artist that kind of blew you away that jumped on board? And is there any artist that is still like your goal to get on board?
Yeah. I mean, when Guns N' Roses came on board, that was a pretty big moment, because we were chatting to them for a long time, and then they were coming over to play Download in 2018, and all the other headliners were providing strings. So we basically we had a chat with the manager, and we met the manager, Fernando, on when they arrived in Download, and we just had a load of samples ready for him. So we basically showed him the samples, and he went off and showed the band, and we just got a thumbs up, and we got a load of strings from there. So that was a big moment to get them on board.
Uh-huh.
In terms of people, still, we'd love Jimmy Page. I think he'd be great. Love the Who. I think they're the two real Foo Fighters. Great to have Dave Grohl and the boys on board. I think there are big three ones that we still have to. Maybe you two as well. The Edge would be good. But yeah, AC/DC, Angus. We have so many people on Angus's strings. So again, we're working on that as well. So we're getting closer to them, but still not there.
Cool. And then earlier you said you've got a guy that you're getting into the drum hardware. Is it just cymbals, or is it like pieces of the actual drum?
It's currently just cymbals. So he's because he was a cymbal. What's the word? He renovates cymbals that have been broken, and he sort of cuts holes in them and makes them perform like new. He started that way, and then he just started doing like necklaces and cufflinks. But then he started doing rings, and that's how we first got in touch with him. But we've got ideas to try and see whether we can use the wood from drums, or the actual nuts and this kind of thing. So we're playing around with a few ideas at the moment. Nothing confirmed yet.
Yeah. Any big like products coming on board this year? Like, you working on anything that hasn't been announced?
Yes, we have this one huge deal, which I can't tell you about, unfortunately. It's been going on for before COVID. So it's basically it's a big partnership collaboration with a guitar brand, and so we're very excited about that, which will hopefully lead to more collaborations like this. So it's hopefully in the first quarter of 2022 it'll be launched, but it's going to be big. We're very excited by it.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yes, I will. As soon as I'm allowed to say something, I'll give you the nod. But it's super exciting. We're really we're looking forward to sort of launching our American offering as well, because that's been in the pipeline for over a year.
Any timeline on when that'll happen?
Yeah, it should be early. I think we've got a great jewelry team in New Jersey, and we've been actually signing up a lot of sort of North American artists that we haven't really announced yet, and a lot of sort of blues players, etc. We've got on board that which are probably more US focused, and I'm going to try that out and just see how it goes. But we're pretty excited about having the team in New Jersey working for us.
That's great. That's great. Earlier you mentioned COVID, and I was going to try and get through this whole interview without asking how you handled that. But during the year of we're kind of still coming out of the lockdown. How did you guys handle that? Did you use that time to kind of sort through everything you had? Was it hard to get anything new because no one was playing live, or did you still have a steady supply of strings coming in?
Yes, because we were just about. We'd I think in March 14th, 2021. Was it? I can't remember when. No, 2020. Yeah, we were gearing up for a huge year of festivals. I think we had 25 festivals in the UK alone locked in, and we were building a big team to try and go. And we were all geared up for this, and it's going great. And then we were going to a country festival at the O2 called C2C, Country to Country, and we got a stall there. We just finished setting the stall up on March 16th, I think, and then literally the day before the festival was meant to go live, those lockdown happened, and it got cancelled. And from that point onwards, no bands were touring, etc. So the strings just stopped coming in. And although a few bands started doing live streams, and we got a few strings from, I think, Damon Johnson, ex-Thin Lizzy, Black Star Riders, we signed him up, and we got a set of strings from a live stream he did. But it wasn't like the big strings we'd get from a big tour. So, but on the side of that, people weren't going to gigs, and therefore they were looking for alternative things to spend money on, and we sort of were one of their ports of call, really. So business was good, but we suddenly realized sort of 6 months in that we'd be running out of strings at this point. And then, and so we had, luckily in America, bands started touring about 6 months ago, 7 months ago. So we started concentrating more on the American artists and getting them on board and getting strings from them. So we've managed to just about get through without much scathing. But it's good to see bands playing again, because say without the strings, sort of we can't raise any money for the charities, really.
Yeah. And what do you see with the guitarist? Like you say, you're about to launch a North American part of it. What do you see in the big picture? Do you want it a worldwide thing?
Yes, definitely. We've had a lot of people out in Australia and New Zealand asking us if we can set something up there as well, and we wanted to definitely. And we've got more into sustainability, because originally that was the main reason for setting it all up. And so we've done, actually the COVID and the lockdown actually helped us a bit, because I started studying about sustainability in a bigger way. So I've done some assessor courses. So one of my other companies, we do festival sponsorships, and we've now started to become advisors and assessors on sustainability festivals. So we want to try and establish that a bit more for the guitarist, and have another sort of area that we could advise artists on how to be more sustainable in tours. So that's a big area we're looking to push through. But we're just trying to expand more and get more artists on board and build up the team, so we've got a bigger network, and working with a lot more guitar companies and a lot more guitar shops, etc. Because we're working with most of the big guitar strings companies. So the likes of Ernie Ball, Rotor Sound, they're all on board with their artists to us, etc. But it's building up more big partnerships as well. There's a couple of big partnership deals on the retail side of things that we're looking to work on early next year, which will hopefully get us into more of a retail thing, because we it's not just artist strings we get, it's strings that have been anonymously donated at guitar shops. So we're going to look at expanding that range as well.
Okay. And are you looking at more, like you said, cymbals, guitar strings, like other items that you can make into jewelry? Are you looking into that as well?
Yeah. If someone's thinking about throwing it away and they recycle it in other ways, then we'd be interested, because we were looking at making beads from the drumsticks and this kind of thing, and recycle. We recycle about 95% of everything we get from the strings, but it was just trying to look into other avenues to see where we really expand and make a difference.
And when you do launch this North American, will there be an address that people can, that somebody wants to donate their strings and so forth, they can do that?
Yep. We're looking. There'll definitely be an address to send. We're going to try, ultimately next year, we're trying to get drop-off points in various other venues as well. So in the UK, we've got we've got a big deal with one of the biggest venue operators in the UK. So all their venues are collection points for artists. So if an artist's on tour and they finish up at one of these venues, they can just drop the strings there and they'll be collected by one of our team. And so it just makes life a lot easier for the artists, where they don't have to post anything to us. Yeah. So we're looking to do that in America as well. So we're chatting with some of the venue operators and promoters out in America at the moment.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's really cool, Ian. I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. I know we had set it up to do it in person, but the universe got in the way. I have one more question.
Yep.
My podcast is called Is Breakfast Included? So if breakfast was included, Ian, what would you have?
Oh, every morning, and I haven't done this pretty much without fail for the last 20, 30 years, I have a full English breakfast. So, and I used to have this breakfast called the Heart Attack, which was a big toasted ciabatta, which had the bottom ciabatta, then it had 2 slices of bacon, 2 fried eggs, 2 sausages, a layer of mushrooms, and then it had the same again piled on top with the ciabatta on the top. And that's the perfect breakfast, I think.
That sounds like the perfect. Next time I see you, minus the mushrooms, I'm having a heart attack with you, okay?
Okay, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, Ian,
yeah.
Do you want to share the, where can they find you on social media?
We are on Instagram, which is just the Guitarist with a W, wrist. We're on Facebook, Guitarist. On our website is www.guitarist.co.uk. And just people can find us if they Google us as well. We're pretty easy to find.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Absolutely. It's been great to meet you at Isle of Wight, and hopefully I know John doesn't change strings that often, but it would be great.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks, Ian.
Cool.
Have a
Cheers,
great day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I do. Bye-bye.
Well, right on. Ian Rendall of the Guitarist. Check him out online. You can find him everywhere on social media at the Guitarist, and you would spell wrist, like I said, WRIST. Check out what they got. Maybe buy some stuff. 100% of the proceeds go towards whatever charity that artist wants to put it towards. So it's a good cause. Check it out. All right, guys, I'm done. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.